Okay. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome! Welcome to another episode of OutRight TV, a video and podcast series bringing you stories of LGBTIQ people and allies across the globe as we face and overcome this pandemic together. I'm Ging Cristobal from the Philippines. I'm one of the project coordinators of OutRight Action International, and with me is Maroz Ramos from GALANG, Philippines. Maroz, welcome to OutRight TV.
Hi, Ging. Good afternoon. Afternoon, yes. And thank you for inviting me.
Yes, thank you for giving us your time, your sweet time, to share what you've been up to during this pandemic. So, for everyone's information, when OutRight started collecting money from kind-hearted people, they know that our goal was to help other LGBTIQ people all over the globe, because we all know that we face double risk of discrimination, abuse, and exclusion from basic services. And we had a hard time looking for groups because we had more than 1,000 applications. And I'm proud to say that one of the very few recipients from the Philippines is GALANG Philippines. And Maroz will be sharing information about that in a little while. But right now, I just want to ask Maroz, what was life look like in light of the COVID-19 virus? Can you share a little information about your life as an LGBTIQ activist before and after COVID-19?
Okay. Before the pandemic, before COVID-19, GALANG's work has been focused in helping and assisting LBTs, lesbians, bisexual women, and trans men in urban poor communities within a certain city in Metro Manila. Mostly these are the economically disadvantaged individuals in the communities, and our focus is on the intersection of sexuality and disadvantages, mainly on economic and on poverty. So our work has been focused on looking into the gaps actually of the policies, existing policies, programs, government programs pertaining or related to LGBTIQ rights in the Philippines. So as it is, the Philippines has no national law protecting LGBTIQ individuals against discrimination. So that's basically what we're working on, and also empowering the LBTs in the communities to become their own advocates, their rights advocates. In light of the pandemic of the COVID-19, actually the gaps, and these gaps became more evident and escalated. So the gaps itself magnified. The discrimination that the LGBTIQ individuals experience in their daily lives are more became magnified and escalated since the start of the pandemic, or the quarantine protocol in March. Started in March, yeah.
March
so
15.
and since most of our the individuals that we work with are part of the informal sector, they are the ones that are very much greatly affected by the pandemic itself. The effect of the pandemic in the lives of the Filipino people.
Yeah. So they usually, when we meet activists, LGBTIQ activists, their usual work is about LGBTIQ people. But what's really different with GALANG is that you really focus on lesbian, bisexual women, and transgender men. And some people are asking why? Why just the three? So can you share why?
Okay. When GALANG started in 2008, actually, when we did the several focus group discussions with LGBT, the IQ then wasn't really mainstream. So the LGBT individuals in the community, what we found out was most of the lesbians, bisexual women, and trans men are still the ones that are very shy, awkward in such gathering, even amongst the sector, the LGBT individuals. And the more vocal and expressive are the gays and the trans women. So that's why we also focus our work with LBT, lesbians, bisexual women, and trans men, to give the voice, give a voice to them, for them, and to also help them boost their confidence, to become to learn more about their sexuality and boost their confidence about in fighting for their rights. And of course, in the Philippines, being a patriarchal society, women, even regardless of your sexuality, you are still tagged majority primarily as a second-class citizen or someone below their male counterparts. So that's why our work, Galang's work, is focused mainly on women, female assigned at birth, because it's like even if a person identifies as a trans man, even if that person is masculine and mainly projects or identifies as a man or a male, that person is still looked upon as a female or woman.
I'm very biased with Galang because there are very few LGBTIQ organizations in the Philippines who can claim to be feminist and who can implement as a way of life feminist principles. And I can vouch because we notice, you know that, Maroz, that there are people who would claim, or activists or groups who claim that they have feminist principles, but in terms of implementation, it's very hard to, you just have to, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. Where is the feminist principles they were claiming? And if it's really feminist driven, the strong feminist belief, you don't have to look very hard because it's evident.
Yes, yes. It's quite hard in the Philippines to actually find someone or a group that would claim or could actually
Walk the talk,
make
walk
walk the
the
talk.
talk,
Yeah.
yeah.
Of the being feminist. Being feminist is not just being for women, but actually um, making it, making the world see that discrimination is not just based on sexuality or gender itself.
Because I asked that question because there are some feminist groups, especially in the North America, where the term TERF,
Mm-hmm.
or trans exclusive radical
Yeah.
femmes. And
Yes.
I know in the Philippines, they are inching their
Mm-hmm.
way into the discussions.
Yes. Yes. There are the turfing
The TERF
is
thing, yeah.
existent. The turfing is very much existent even in the Philippines. It's quite hard to find organizations similar to what Galang believes in, that trans women are women and should be considered also as marginalized and similar as sexual minorities, and should be given the similar treatment and enjoyment of their rights to their counterparts. But, there are maybe because of their beliefs, also their principles, that somehow it makes them less inclusive.
Yeah. But in the discussion of turfing, there's also, uh, I don't even use the call turf, but it's more of uh, butch-looking lesbians being excluded
Mm.
because you are
Mm-hmm.
not uh, implementing or manifesting the feminist principles of, how some extreme radical feminists view masculine descriptions or masculine expressions of lesbians.
Mm-hmm. Yes. In what the with our experience in the working with the communities during the first few years, actually, the lesbians themselves the masculine presenting lesbians, they still look at themselves as the male in the relationship, and the femme or the feminine looking partners they have, if they have partners, are the female in the relationship. So there's still that. And they also see that the more masculine you are, the more um, lesbian or tomboy you are.
Yeah.
There's
I
there's that
remember,
hierarchy.
yeah, I remember I was asked, I'm not lesbian enough because I have feminine ways.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But going back to my question about the COVID grant, in the Philippines, there are only three organizations who are the recipients of the COVID-19 grant out from OutRight. It's, Love, Galang, and the organization in Cebu. And since Galang is one of the few organizations who received the outright emergency grant, can you share how the grant helped your organization help other LGBTIQ people in your community?
Okay. Actually, when we submitted our proposal for outright for the emergency fund, emergency grant, uh, what we included was to provide at least a few weeks food and non-food supplies to our partner organizations in the communities, because right now Galang has four LBT partner organizations in the communities within Quezon City, and they have around 200 members all in all. And these individuals, as I mentioned earlier, are the ones economically affected. Their work were either stopped, or their own livelihood or business, small businesses, had to close because they do not have enough resources, they have enough funds. So that's why we decided to request for grant, for an emergency grant, to provide them with at least some supplies. Also, since majority of those that were supposedly to benefit from the government's humanitarian aids, relief aids, most of them experience being disregarded or excluded in the list, the start list. They were not included because they were not labeled, or they do not fall under the family definition of family. So they were told out that they are not included because they are not heterosexual couples or a heterosexual family. That's when we decided to actually request or look for funds that could help them, because Galang's funds are very limited also, so we cannot provide for a long-term relief aid, or for a few weeks relief aid. That's why. And so when I received actually an email from Paul, I was shocked. Actually, it took about 2 months, I think, before we received the confirmation from OutRight that our proposal was approved, and we will be able to provide at least a 3 or 4 weeks supply to the LBTs in the communities. And we started distributing at the start of first week of August. Unfortunately, the government declared another modified enhanced community quarantine the week after. So we had to postpone the, the we had to postpone for a while, for 2 weeks, I think. Yeah, because the second batch was done last week. Second batch of distribution. So um, everyone was the recipients, the LBTs in the communities were very much appreciative and grateful for the supplies that they received, because most of them do not have any resources to buy, even because what we included was I think 15 kilos of rice. In the
Mm.
Philippines, if you do not have rice, it's
You will
you do not
die.
you will die.
Rice is life.
Yes, in the Philippines, rice is life. It's a staple food for every Filipino. So that's why we included that, and we also included a few disinfectant, of course, for them to use during this time. And most of them, since we were able to distribute before the declaration of the new MECQ, the implementation of the modified enhanced community quarantine, they were very thankful because they did not have to worry where to find or to get their supplies during that, I think, 2 weeks. Yeah, it was a 2 week MECQ. Yeah, so they were very thankful, and because most of them also were not reached out by the barangays, and even if they did ask the barangay for some help, some of them were not were turned down or were disregarded. So that's quite unfortunate. But again, we're not really sure why. Even if we talked with the gender and development focal officers within those barangays, they said that they're included, they're part of the list. But again, they didn't receive any form of assistance. That's why we also received messages from the different, even from the families of these LBTs, that they're very thankful that of the assistance, the relief that they received, and it really helped them get by the past weeks.
It's 3
Until
weeks,
now,
no?
actually.
3
Yes.
weeks. 3 weeks back.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you share some pictures of
Okay, let's see.
the activities that were included from the grant?
Let's do this.
Let's do this. Okay. So, yes. So,
okay. Can you see this?
What happened from okay.
This actually is the first batch, one of the first batch, the relief operation or relief distribution. This was in Barangay Batasan Hills. This is actually what this barangay is one of the biggest in Quezon City, and there are about around 50 LBTs in that community that we're working with. And as you can see, on the right side of the picture, that's rice. That's
and
rice.
Usually, when you say 50 LBT persons, it means one LBT person does not mean just one person. It means that person belongs to a family or
yes.
has her or his own family to provide for.
Yes. Because most of them belong to the urban poor or the informal sector. So, and most of them are the breadwinner of their families. The help, the assistance, the pack that they received actually helped their families as well, not just the individual. And then this one also is in Barangay Batasan Hills. This is actually the time that they were distributing. The person wearing cap actually is one of the officers of the LBT organization in Batasan Hills. And then this is also in Batasan Hills. As you can see, there are eggs also. So we tried to provide
healthy meals.
More, yes, healthier food supplies rather than providing just canned goods or
because the government gave so many sodium packed canned goods.
Sodium packed canned goods. The government provides they give sardines.
Different flavors of sardines.
Yes.
To be exact.
Yes, actually, I received a pack. Actually, I was like, so I'll be eating sardines for the next 14 days.
And you'll grow fins, no, and gills.
Yes, I'll go film. I can breathe underwater already. This one is in Barangay This is also in Barangay Batasan Hills. Sorry, this is the second batch actually. As you can see, these are also the officers. They are the ones that we engaged also the officers of the LBT organizations for them to be more visible in the community. So they are the ones who led the distribution amongst their members. And then this one is in Barangay Pansol actually. This is actually an older person, a lesbian older person. She is also taking care of her elderly mother who is already a invalid. She couldn't walk actually. She couldn't get up from her bed already. So this is actually a very big help for her, especially since her work was doing household chores or cleaning houses. But right now it's quite difficult to get clients because of the pandemic. So the relief pack was very helpful for her and her mother, and she also has a niece that she's taking care of. So there are two people who actually rely on her. This one is in Barangay Loyola Heights. It's actually another group. And as you can see, there's another elderly. Actually, that's the mother of one of the members of the organization. Yes. She is very supportive of her child also, being part of the organization in their barangay. And then this is in Barangay Bagbag. I think Love also is one of the beneficiaries of OutRight. So this is also, I think these are the members outside of Barangay Bagbag because Love has several members outside of Bagbag. They have members from the nearby barangays also from Bagbag. So I think that's it. Yeah, that's the some of the photos that I could share with you.
Thanks, Maroz.
Actually, they have lots of photos and videos.
But if we'll show them, we'll run out of spend
Yes.
2 days.
We need 2 days.
But during the time when you were distributing, buying, packing, sharing all the relief packs, what have you found most inspiring during that time?
One actually is again Filipino resiliency. You can see that even though they're undergoing hardships, especially with the pandemic and with the limited resources, they still they're still very appreciative of any form of help coming from anyone actually, especially now. And um, when we went around to distribute, they were very much thankful and appreciate that uh, this, how do you call this? They are not, they haven't been forgotten. They are not left behind. So there are still people who care for them and still think that they are part of the society and that they exist. So that's one. And another one is this actually was the time that we were able to show that their families actually that what we're doing is not just for them to just join a certain organization for LBT or LGBTIQ individuals, but this is a support system. We're establishing a support system that would help marginalized sectors or the sexual minorities, especially the LBT in the communities.
So we started the lockdown since March. Been working
Yes.
from home, and I think that those are the only times you went out of your office and your home. So what do you look forward to most after all of this is over, the pandemic? And I think it's going to happen next month. I'm so positive.
Oh, really? Well, what do I miss most? Well, the interaction actually, because before pre-COVID, pre-pandemic, we do series of training in the communities and with the LBTs and their families as well. And that's one of the things that we miss because the interaction itself, the rapport and the relationship you build with the community is different than doing this actually, than just doing video things. So that's one. And second actually is gaining more allies or establishing more allies in the community because now you can't really get more allies and everyone is like, no, we're on our own, we have to do this, we have to survive on our own. So that's one of the things that I miss And third, I think is, I miss the beach.
That's one of the places I'm going to after it's over. Because right now, even if you can go, but it's too risky.
Yes, it's too risky. You cannot just go outside of your region.
Yeah,
So those are the things.
And since we're part of the mature LGBTIQ crowd, do you have any message of hope and inspiration you want to share with to our viewers, especially our LGBTIQA plus younger brothers and sisters during this pandemic? Because we know that the mental health challenges are also rising.
Okay. Sige, I'll just borrow a tagline from, I think that's a show in one of the networks. Dream, believe, survive.
You dream, believe, survive.
Yes. See, you know that. Dream. I still dream that this, hopefully this lifetime, we will still see that the society, the world will be a just and progressive one, where everyone is treated equally, regardless of your sexuality, your age, even your age, or your class in the society. Believe that what we're doing, similar to what the previous generations have done, will benefit the future generation. Believe that what we're doing right now, every one of those that are part of the advocacy of the LGBTIQ, is that what we're doing will benefit the future generation, and we will be able to make change happen soon. And of course, survive the pandemic, God, and survive the still survive regardless of the discrimination that the LGBTIQ is experiencing in their daily lives. So I think that's it.
And I'm going to add something. Look for something beautiful, because there are numerous beauty in everyday life. Because right now everything is so gloomy. But first thing you have to look at beauty is in front of the mirror.
Self-love, yes, self-love. And self-worth.
Yes. Maroz, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me today for OutRight TV. OutRight TV, the podcast and video series to share stories of resilience, of hope and love from the LGBTIQ people and allies all over the globe as we face this pandemic together. I feel like a host. So this is Ging. I'm with Maroz. Just spoke to her, and my colleagues will be back for another episode. Stay tuned, and thank you for staying. Stay safe.
Bye. Thank you.
Be healthy. Thanks, Maroz. Bye.
Thank you. Take care.